session of your journey with TiE as a grand finale. I am Tapasya Singh. I am chair of TiE Women Lucknow chapter, and I would like to welcome Mr. Prajakt Raut. Let me give you a brief introduction of Sir first. Mr. Prajakt Raut is a venture
Tapasya, please call me Prajakt, not Sir. I insist, and everybody for that matter.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Prajakt Raut is a venture capital investor, entrepreneur, and renowned entrepreneurship and evangelist. With over 30 years of experience, he has been a key player in the startup ecosystem as a mentor, angel investor, and professional. His personal mission is to inspire and support around 1 lakh plus people to become successful entrepreneurs. And he has been a inspiration for all the TiE members. We, as in TiE chairpersons, as in TiE presidents, we always look upon him to just, guide us for whatever we are doing. So over to you, over to you, Prajakt. Thank you so much for to be here with us. And members, please note it would be a 1 hour session. So once he completes his session, then only we'll go for the question answers round. Thank you so much. Over to you, Prajakt.
Prajakt, the mic is mute. I guess your mic is on mute, sir.
Sorry. My apologies. Thank you, Tapasya, and I was saying that it is always such a joy to be participating in anything to do with TiE. I've now been associated with TiE for close to about 20 years. And this has been a very, not just satisfying, but just a phenomenally rewarding experience as well. Most of my professional relationships and many of the friends that I've been able to make over the years are a result of getting involved in TiE. One of the things that we say at TiE that TiE data bahut hai, but our aim at TiE should always be to be net givers. The more you give, the more you will get, because the more you get involved, the more relationships that you are able to build. And it's very counterintuitive, but the philosophy of becoming net givers, which actually results you in getting a lot, is something that I've learned deeply from TiE. It's always a joy to participating in anything to do with this. Today what I'm going to cover are my insights, experiences, and observations of what works in a venture capital fund or an angel investor network or a high net worth family office, or when people are pitching to them for capital. What I'm going to share with you are, what goes in a pitch deck was the theme of the session. That will probably take 5 minutes, because if I could have given you a list and I would have, you would have said, "Acha, ye likhna hai pitch deck." But what I want to spend about 35 minutes is in explaining why what I'm going to suggest that should go into pitch deck is important, so that you understand the context of how investors would be making these decisions. Okay. Feel free to interject and ask me questions at any point of time. It is not, don't wait for the end. If you feel there's something that you need clarification on, please feel free to do that. 4 sections we will cover today. We will first understand what is the business of the investor, because if you don't understand why investors invest, you will never be able to pitch according to what their context is and what their motivations and drivers of this. The second, what I'm going to talk about is about building the foundation of a business. Now, the reason why I say why I've cut out VC fundable is that I tell people, never make a business plan for anybody else. Do not make a business plan for VCs. It is not a business that you're creating for somebody else. First, create a strong foundation for a fundamentally solid business. Parts of it will be relevant for an investor, parts of it will be relevant for your own operations team, parts of it will be relevant for your business, partnerships and retail distributors, etc., 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 the different stakeholders that we have. But one of the mistakes that I've seen a lot of people do is actually they end up making a business plan or building a business plan for others, which is saying, अच्छा investor ने business plan मांगा है तो pitch deck बना है तो मैं बना दिया. Make that business plan irrespective of whether you're looking for capital or not. And the third section that I will go into is about actually what are the things that you should think about when making a business plan. And then finally about constructing your pitch deck. What are the elements that go into it so that in a very short summary, people will be able to get an intent of what you're intending to do. But think of the pitch deck as when you buy a book, वो किताब के पीछे एक summary लिखी होती है book की. The pitch deck is literally like a summary that you write at the back of the page, which means necessarily, unless you have written the book, you cannot write the summary. Similarly, unless you have thought through about every aspect about the business, you can't start writing a summary document, which is the pitch deck. A pitch deck is not a comprehensive business plan. A pitch deck is a summary document or a document that summarizes key elements of your business plan, and I'll go through what those are. But let's first go on to understanding what is this animal called investor. The one point that I want to make before we start into anything is that a business plan is a completely useless product, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that and why I'm making that provocative statement. The moment you are able to, you make a great business plan, no matter how detailed that you go, you print it and spiral bind it and say कि अच्छा ये मेरा business plan है, अभी इसको लेके हम ना next 3 साल तक इसको focus में हम लोग execute करेंगे. You're dead as an entrepreneur, you're dead as a company. And the reason I say this is because a business plan is a living document. Now, it is a useless product if you look at it as that ki acha ye ho gaya, that this Excel sheet is done and therefore this is my business plan. But the process of understanding what are the dependencies, the process of understanding what will happen if this does not happen, what will happen if that happens, how many people are need for that, etc. The framework and the logic that you use and the thinking that you do about understanding how that business plan came about is a priceless process, absolutely priceless process. And that activity I suggest to people to do, whether you're pitching to somebody, not pitching to somebody, you need somebody's money, you don't need somebody's money, that activity you need to do. And the reason why I say it's a useless product is because even if, say, for example, Mukesh Ambani, Sunil Mittal, Narayan Murthy, whoever could write, even Tim Cook could write a business plan, or even Elon Musk could write a business plan that worked exactly as the business plan was, there would be no stock market in the world. The reason why there is a stock market is because even those people make assumptions. And sometimes those assumptions don't play out as well. Sometimes they are able to overshoot those assumptions. So then what is the reason why people say, do you have a strong business plan? The reason is because it is not the specificity of the numbers, etc., that investors are looking for. What they're looking for is whether the logic that is underpinning all the assumptions, etc., that you have made, is that right? And one of the things that investors would look for is, do these people who are presenting in front of me today, do they understand the complexity of what it takes to build that business? Sorry, somebody is asking a question. No, I think that.
Can the admin put everyone else on mute except for the speaker? I think people are speaking in between. No, there's no question as such.
Okay, no problem. That's okay. We'll see if we can do that. So angel investors, venture capital, etc. What is that? What do they do? They put money into your company, and essentially they are buying shares into your company. They're buying equity into your company. But as you would understand, nobody makes money by buying shares, right? How do they then make money? Much like you would in the stock market. Suppose tomorrow, today you buy a Reliance share for X price. Would you make money even if Reliance makes a lot of money? No. The only time you make money after buying a share is when you sell that share, right? Then what you're talking, that in simple terms is the fundamental logic of why venture capital firms or VCs or angel investors or whoever invest into a company, which means when you're making a business plan, when you're making a pitch deck to pitch to them, you have to think, is there a reasonable chance that they will be able to sell the equity that they have bought in my company to somebody else who will want to buy that at a higher price than them, because of which they will make money? If the answer is yes, and for a logical reason, then this is a venture capital fundable or angel investor fundable business plan. If the answer is no, then it doesn't mean that it's a bad business. It just means that it's a different business. Suppose today, if I start a restaurant is not a venture capital fundable business, but it is a great business. It doesn't, but if I want to start a chain of restaurants, I want to say, "Okay, over the next 10 years, I want to create a chain of 500 restaurants." That's a venture capital fundable business. Venture capital, think of it as rocket fuel for the company. If you have a Maruti car and you want to put regular fuel, वो नहीं venture capital है. But if you want to, sort of say, hey, look, I want to really now accelerate growth and really have an accelerated growth, that is where you use venture capital as a as a currency. Now, you also need to understand that unlike, say, dividend or interest or other forms of capital where you'll be able to earn, 10, 15%, maybe 20% a year in other forms, venture capital investors and angel investors don't look at that kind of metric. They look at, say, maybe getting 15 times, 20 times the money, which means if somebody puts 1 crore in a business, they would expect it to be 20 crores. Now, why is that? So is that because they're greedy? No, it is not that. Because in early stages, the mortality rate of the business is very high, which means if if somebody invests, say, 1 crore in, say, let me explain with an example. If somebody puts 1 crore in 20 companies in, say, the beginning of 2024, okay, कितने डाले? 20 crore डाले. If that same money they had put in stock market, mutual fund, real estate, in 5 years' time, at approximately 15-16% interest or annualized realization, that money would have been 40-45 crores, correct? That's the typical what we have seen in the market. But now this person has chosen to invest this 20 crore in 20 startups, 1 crore each. What will happen is in the next 2 or 3 years, 30-40% of these, of these 20 startups, 8, 9, 10 startups would actually perhaps die. Maybe 1 or 2 startups become slightly successful, तो 1 crore के 2 crore हो गए, फिर भी टोटल कितना निकला? 4 crore निकला. अच्छा, 2-4 startups थोड़ी और सक्सेसफुल हो गए, तो कितना निकला उसके अंदर से? अच्छा, 4x निकला, सो मतलब 16 crore that may return, or maybe 20 crore that may return. So unless 1 or 2 of these companies become 20x, 30x, 15x kind of companies, overall, there is no return that people will be able to get. And therefore, the only way that investors would invest in high risk early stage companies is if they see that there is a potential of getting exponentially high return. But then you'll say, but look, if all the companies return all of that kind of money, that will be very, they'll make lots of money. It doesn't work that way, because over, law of averages, somebody or the other, fails, somebody or the other succeeds. Because you don't know who will succeed or who will not succeed, every investment that they make, they will try to look for exponential returns. And therefore, one of the key things that you need to focus on in the deck is to give them the confidence that this is going to be an investment that will pay extraordinarily high returns. Because if you succeed, you are then in which case subsidizing the losses that they have had in other places. But it is quite possible that your business fails and somebody else succeed, and therefore somebody else is subsidizing for you. But that's how the venture capital game is played. And the reason why I'm saying all of this and giving you the context is because there's no point in just telling you, "अच्छा, ये 10 चीजें pitch deck में रखता हूँ." If you understand why those 10 things are important in the pitch deck, you will be able to then articulate the nuances even in the communication a lot better. You also have to understand that you have to assess what risk the investor is going to associate with you. And therefore, when your pitch deck should think in terms of how do I give that investor the confidence that the risk in this, of course, every business will have risk. There is no business that will not have risk. And investors are not looking for risk-free businesses. What they're looking for are entrepreneurs who have understood the risk and are taking enough steps to be able to mitigate those risks. Hmm? So think of a business that is going in, अच्छा जा रहा है सब, year on year growth है over a period of time, whatever the timeline is, there is growth happening. Prakash, did you want to ask a question? Prakash, your hand was up, that's why I'm asking you. Prakash Pradhan? Achha, I don't think he was raising his hand, so I thought he was asking a question. Okay. So now at an early stage, हर तरह की रिस्क है, कॉन्सेप्ट रिस्क भी है, आइडिया चलेगा नहीं चलेगा, एग्जीक्यूशन रिस्क भी है, ये लोग कर पाएंगे नहीं कर पाएंगे, उसके बाद किया तो ठीक है, but will they be able to make a really large scale business? All of these three risks are there at the beginning of the thing. But as the business grows, the concept risk goes out of the table in the sense that acha, there is some validation. So if you have just an idea and just a prototype, but no customer validation, you have to help the investor understand how you are going to mitigate the concept risk and what is the research, etc., that you've done for that. On the other hand, if you have already got a sort of an MVP or some pilot done in the market, then you will need to highlight the concepts that you or the concept risk and how that has been mitigated and has been proven out. And as you go along in the next phase of the journey, you will have what is called, the scale up risk that is there. So early stages, what are people looking for? They're saying that, they're looking for what is your plan for proving the concept. Somehow it's not about putting lots of money and resources in large teams and stuff. It is about saying how can you do in a jugadu manner, and and really nimbleness is what the key factor is, how you're going to get things done. But as the business matures, that jugadu thing has to convert into processes because it will never be able to scale. You have to, from right, अच्छा ये try करता हूँ, ये price try करता हूँ, अच्छा ये नहीं तो ये customer try करता हूँ. All of these are, you're trying to be nimble and flexible but some point of time in the business, you start fine tuning the offering. And then from attempting multiple things, you say, okay, I did these 3 experiments. This experiment worked, therefore I'm going to focus on this and now build some reasonable scale. And at some stage may not be relevant for any of you in this room, but at some point of time, you have to start building operational efficiencies, increasing profitability, and all of those things that are associated with scale. Now, while this may not be important in the early stages, it is important for entrepreneurs like you to have an understanding in what it will take to have those, to have a business at scale. So, for example, if I think, Acha, I'm doing this concept, and the next year my target is to do 50 lakhs of revenue. Next year, I want to do, a year after that, I want to do 2.5 crores. After that, I want to do 10 crores. And maybe you thought through all of that and stuff like that. So somebody asks, okay, in 10 years' time, where do you see the business? And you say, I think we'll probably be 1,000 crore company in 10 years, maybe, or whatever, 500 crores, or whatever your aspiration is. But then if somebody asks the questions, how many people do you think you will have in the company when you're a 500 crore company? It is important for you to not have a detailed Excel sheet, but it is important for you to have some idea in terms of what it takes to be a business at scale. And the only reason is this first or second slide that I had, which said the only way that investors make money is when they sell the shares that they have bought into a company to somebody else for a higher price. And that means that over the next 5, 6, 7 years में अगर वो आपके कंपनी से एग्जिट लेने वाले होंगे, they need to get a sense in terms of किस स्केल तक जाएगा और क्या पता है इन लोगों को पता है कि how to take it to scale. Now, why is it important there for 10 years, even if they are going to exit in 3, 4 years? Because the next round of investor who will come in is also looking for that, right? Saying that in 10 years' time, if there is not enough room for them to grow, then why will they buy the early stage investors, point in any case? Anushri, you had your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yes, sir. So I want to know how much time span do we calculate in early stage or say growth stage, like first 2 years, first 3 years? When do we start calling it a growth stage? Matlab, I want to have a fair idea.
No, it is not. It is not in time, and different things will have different kinds of things. The a simpler concept, growth, early stage, or growing the jugaad stage and all that could just be about 6 months. But if I'm doing, say, for example, a new battery technology company, it may still be 2 years before I even get a customer pilot. I might still be doing with the fidgeting with the product and literally making the product a little more better, improving this and that. So it depends in terms of what you want to do. So, for example, if I were to say, oh, I want to start a uh, you know Lucknowi food outlet in Goa, because I have some relatives there. I have this that again. I will be able to do that. Literally, I think in about 6 months' time, you will have a sense in terms of whether that pilot is working right or not working right and all that. But on the other hand, if you're building a power plant, it might take 3 years to even get the first prototype done. So it is not in terms of time that it is about in terms of what is the practical time that you will take to validate the concept, prove that my product is working, prove that my GTM is working in different kinds of stages. And different people may have different timelines. So, for example, if somebody who's working full time in the business with and past experience and all that might do some things in 9 months, and somebody else who's saying that, look, I'm doing this initially as a part-time thing, might take 1.5 years. It doesn't matter.
Right. So like
What is
ours is a
important is you
healthcare
need to.
sector. So
Sorry?
pardon?
No, sorry, you go ahead.
Ours, yeah, ours is a healthcare sector. So we are now running our center from last 2 years. And now we wish to scale up. That is what we are here to like
So if your model is proven, which means saying that what is my core offering that is proven, why I have a differentiated advantage that is proven, why customers like me that is proven, how I service my customers is proven, my gross margin and all that, that playbook is proven. Now I have one center, I want to go to 5 centers, and then eventually I want to do to 50. Yes, then in which case you would say that my early stage is done. Now it's a question of getting fine-tuned with the processes, etc.
right, right. All right. Got the
Okay.
point. Mhm.
And the point is that different people will participate in your journey at different stages. If you are at an early stage, we are saying that the concept is, with a clear need, then accelerators, angel investors, seed stage funds, or angel investor networks would be the kind of people that you will go to. When you've got a little more, like say for example, अभी आपका किसी का इनका एक ही clinic अगर होगा, then you probably need to go to seed stage investors or maybe even just a handful of high net worth individuals to say, "Acha, okay, now we want to go from here to prove the model in that this can be scaled to, we want to build 2 more centers in slightly different geography, and therefore we want seed capital." Then say that, look, if this works out, what we are building now is a playbook. Earlier, what we built was a center. Now we are building the execution playbook. Once this is done, we want to raise 50 crores to really build, or 20 crores to build 10 more centers. After that, I want to raise 200 crores to build 200, 50 centers or whatever that plan is. So that's how the journey will go from one to another. And when you raise, say, 50 crore, the people who had put in, say, 1 or 2 crores earlier would get an exit at some point of time. Somebody else will buy their shares and stuff. That's how the market grows. But it's important for you to understand when you're pitching to that stage of investors is what he or she would be looking for. And what they are looking for is exit, because at the end of the day, unless it's a grant that somebody is giving, to say अच्छा है कुछ भला करो इनको grant देते हैं. If somebody is giving an investment, what they're looking for is return on investment. And typical return on cycle would be about 4 or 5 years. So they would be looking, अच्छा 2 crore लगाऊंगा इसमें, तो क्या इसमें मेरे को 20 crore 15 30 crore मिलने की कुछ संभावना है. 30 crore मिलने के लिए कितना बड़ा बिजनेस होना पड़ेगा. All of that back calculation will need to be thought through.
Right.
Now, it is important to understand that venture capital, which is the organized, sort of institutional capital, versus angel investors or early stage company investors would look for different things. What VCs look for, say in the case of Anushri, what VCs would look for is saying that not in terms of whether the product has worked, whether what they would be looking for is there a playbook to take this from 1 center to 100 centers. Whether you do it in 3 years or 30 years is a matter of taking that risk. But saying that कि क्या playbook है कि नहीं है. But if you say कि नहीं playbook तो भी नहीं है, but ये center तो देखो कितना बढ़िया चल रहा है. But if you don't know how to take it from one center to, you see, right, running one restaurant and running a chain of 50 restaurants or one clinic and 50 clinics is a different ball game altogether. That is what VCs would look for. What angel investors would look for is not a proven model, but they are going to say, that, okay, there is an aspiration to do this. They have a set of assumptions that are underpinning it. Right now, what they're seeking money is to prove the concept of the product itself. But there are some thoughts that they have, and they have spoken to people to understand what it would require to really go to that next level. that वो business की जो धंधे की understanding होती है ना, वो होनी जरूरी होती है. That is what people would be looking for. Okay. And again, only because exit is the only way in which investors can make money, which is by selling the equity that they bought in their company, all these 4 things become very important. Is the market large? Market large नहीं होगा तो बढ़ने की संभावना नहीं है. Does the venture have a reasonably strong chance of being a dominant player? So, for example, Anushri, and I'm using Anushri's case because she spoke up. If it is like any other clinic, so ठीक है, I mean, you will have more clinics, but there is no reason for you to be a leading or a dominant player. Why is dominant player important? If you're not a dominant player, it's just a regular Me Too player, nobody's going to pay a premium for the equity that the investors have bought into you. Because they want premium, they want something that कुछ तो differentiated है. Maybe the target segment is differentiated, whether the brand experience is differentiated, whether the quality is differentiated, maybe the pricing is differentiated, maybe the business model is differentiated, maybe the geography is differentiated. Maybe you say, look, I want to create these in really tier 3 and 4 cities, and I want to have a hub and spoke model. I'm not saying that one is about, it is important for you to understand what that differentiation or your basis for premium would be. And third is there a strong business case? And of course, without a business case, there is no reason to build a business in the first place, right? वो तो जरूरी है. And ऊपर का 3 are the reasons for them to consider investing on. But the reason why they will invest is because this is a team that I can really bet on, not because of the 3 things. Even if all the things are there, but यार मुझे नहीं लगता है team confidently ये कर पाएगा. And confidence doesn't come from speaking well, presenting well, better English, better. No, those are all superficial things. I think many important as they may be, but most seasoned investors know that these are not the kind of thing that. But when somebody asks you a question, how confidently and how deeply you understand the question and therefore are able to give a logical answer. To go back to an earlier example, somebody says, okay, I think, Anushri, great. I mean, I like your plan of doing 3 more centers next year and then, in 5 years doing 20 centers. But I think there's a potential to do about 100 or so. What do you think? And you say, yes, I think that there is potential to 100. And I think we can do it in about 100 years' time. How many people do you think you'll need in your central office, and what is the quantum of capital that you will need? Now, it doesn't matter whether the answer is right or wrong, but that you have thought through it and had some context around it. Think that, look, I think each center will cost about 2.5 crores. I'll need about 5 people in the central office to manage that. So I see a 500 people team sitting in the central office, overseeing the operations, in addition to about 3 or 4 people in each center, in addition to the operating staff. But somebody said, tell me, what would it take to create 500? Say, look, I don't know because I hadn't thought about it that much. But by and large, per center, we could easily assume about 2.5 to 3 crores in investment. Now that's a confident, logical answer because you've thought through it, right? It is not the correctness of the answer is never a guarantee because nobody will know the correct answer. You're giving a assumption that seems logical. That is what confidence means, not necessarily the right English and the right, sort of kind of things and stuff. Okay. A lot of time, and this is the reason why I highlight this good investment opportunities, but a lot of times entrepreneurs spend time in explaining how good their product is. It is, and while a good product is an important, aspect of the business, by itself, it is not a sufficient condition for making it a successful business. Correct? I can make great pizza, but if I don't know what the complexity of running a pizza chain is, I will never be able to make a pizza chain. Product तो अच्छा हो जाएगा, धंधा कैसे बनाओगे अच्छा? So it is important for you to in the deck keep on reinforcing it. Now, and when I say the deck, doesn't necessarily mean that pitch deck. It could be a communication as well. So that you should be able to give people the confidence that this is a good, obviously, I mean, people want teams that are competent, committed, passion होना चाहिए. Reason why passion about a concept is important is because there will always be ups and downs in life. If you're getting into a business only because it is कि आजकल ये चल रहा है, आजकल investors are this is something that investors are investing in and stuff like that. You will be motivated to continue doing that only till there is वो गाड़ी जब ये ऐसे ऊपर जा रही है. The moment it hits a roadblock and sort of things start becoming tougher, you will say कि छोड़ो यार, इसमें मतलब ये जितना सोचा था उससे ज्यादा मेहनत है. But अगर अंदरूनी ये आवाज आएगी saying that this is what I was born to do, this is what I want, I really feel passionate about, you will have the tenacity to fight the tough times. And it is important for you as much as it is important for the investor. Investors look for plans with practical milestones but very large aspirations because that's the only way they can make money. So whether you want to be 1,000 crore company or 500 crore company or 200 crore company in 10 years time, your first 18-24 months might still look the same. कि फर्स्ट साल में 25 लाख, नेक्स्ट साल में 1.25 करोड़, उसके बाद 10 करोड़, उसके बाद मतलब ना हाउ यू ग्रो एक्सेट्रा इज अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ योर एस्पिरेशन, एग्जीक्यूशन, कैपिटल अवेलेबिलिटी एंड ऑल दैट. होगा नहीं होगा देखेंगे बाद में. एस्पिरेशन नहीं होंगे तो वैसे भी नहीं होने वाला है. सो दैट इज व्हाट इन्वेस्टर्स वुड लुक फॉर. ठीक है. Focus in the initial way, and there are lots of times like अच्छा ये भी कर सकते, ये भी कर सकते, ये भी कर सकते. All of that is possible. But it is important to really focus in the initial phases because it is very hard to do multiple things. To say कि I will target SME as well as large enterprises, I will do B2B as well as B2C, all of ये नहीं चल पाता. बहुत implementation मतलब ना.
So one more question.
Sure, go ahead, Anushka.
So is there any way to calculate, like, as far now I have been, say, I told you I have been running my center for last 3 years now. So is there any way to calculate कि किस like what limit will we can scale our business to या कुछ ऐसा? Is there a method of calculation?
No, it is, say for example, if you have a clinic which is addressing an underserved need, then you need to assess what are how many geographies in the country, but is there a practical need for a center like that, and what is the revenue of potential of each of those things, and what is the kind of team, etc. And then eventually it's a question of how much capital you get. By the way, many of the entrepreneurs who have built really large businesses, whether it is the Oyos or the Olas, and all of these people did not have that extremely large aspiration. Only when they started, getting more capital and they realized, oh my God, this can be 100 times more than what we get. What is important is to really break out of the अपने कैपिटल से हम कितना कर पाते हैं. अच्छा 10 साल में हम लोग 10 वाला करेंगे, सेंटर्स करेंगे, वो वाला नहीं चलेगा. Now, whether 500 is the right number or 2000 is the right number, nobody knows. But if the number is not inspiringly large, again I'm saying the specificity of the answer is not important. The directional, thing and the hunger that you have for that will be important.
All right, sir.
And you need to be very clear in terms of who your target is, what is your goal. Well, the specificity in the immediate term and a broad directional aspiration in the long term are what people will be looking for. And of course, clarity on each. Saying that, okay, if you put 2 crores, what will it achieve? Will you get to profitability or will you need another 10 crores to survive? Would you do one center or would you also have cash left for building another center, etc.? I mean, I'm just giving one example, but all of those would be different kinds of things that you would be looking for. Then Of course, I mean, this is most critical, right? If you're putting in the money, you want people that you can trust. Nobody is looking for teams who know everything, but कोई नहीं है market में जिसको सब आता है. But if you tell investors, look, I know this, but I don't understand anything, say for example about marketing, then they will be able to say, okay, I'll know how to support you with that. But if you say, look, I don't know marketing, I don't know finance at all. I know all of these things. I don't. The more you are, what should you say, transparent with your investor, the more they will be able to guide you. Initial stage, wale mein. Later stage, mein, of course, investors expect you to know most of the things, but initial stages, it is capital plus mentoring that is going to be more critical for you. देखो ये सारी जो है ना, मोस्ट पीपल से लड़के मेरा डिसरप्टिव मॉडल है, फर्स्ट मोर एडवांटेज है, अफोर्डेबल है, ये है वो करके. नाउ all of that might be true, but you need to have a reason. Now affordable doesn't mean I have priced it cheaper कि उसका जूस 20 रुपए का मिलता है, मैंने जूस 10 रुपए में बेचा. बेचना मतलब pricing it lower is your prerogative. What is important is my juice is more affordable because I am making my juice in a innovative manner, because of which my cost of making the juice is cheaper. So unless you don't have a logic for doing, any of these things, it will be very, very hard to do. Okay. So use jargon, don't use jargon at all, and use anything that you do to explain any of these things. Make sure that there is a logic and a thinking behind it. Okay. Excel sheet nahi hai. Business plan is not an Excel sheet. Business plan is the story of your business. It is just a thing in terms of, I am one center now, I want to be 20 centers, but I will then go into next, city, I will do a model, I will do this, etc. I will then hire these people. Whatever that plan is, those are the kind of things that you will need to, sort of make into your business, which makes the business plan. Excel sheet is only a financial calculation of that journey. Similarly, you may have a project plan, which is also a business plan. You may have a aspirational plan, which is in terms of आज कितने center कहाँ करेंगे क्या करें, which is a geographic expansion plan. Excel sheet is only one thing which allows you to put all these different kinds of thoughts into one. I always tell people overestimate cost and underestimate revenue. उल्टा लोग हमेशा करते हैं, रेवेन्यू की लाइन बहुत बड़ी खींच लेते हैं, कॉस्ट जितने कम होते हैं करते हैं. The reason why you should overestimate costs and underestimate revenues is because उल्टा हो गया तो भी you will survive. But if you overestimate revenues and underestimate costs और वो नहीं चला, then you will die as a business. You will certainly, be short of things. And this is the slide that I wanted to talk to you about what the business plan should be. So this was the theme of my thing, but literally it is one slide. Now I'll send a presentation across to the team so that you can get it. But literally 8 to 10 slides, depending on how much time you have to present. And one of the things that you need to think about is that nobody is going to give you a check or a commitment to invest after the first presentation. The only outcome that you can expect from a first presentation is to say, oh, this looks interesting, I'd like to meet and know more. So don't cram too many things. Make sure that the summary of your story and every slide should give them the confidence. What a strong team. They have their concepts very right. Nobody's interested in the detailing. They are interested in you understanding the high level concept. Question पूछेंगे तभी जवाब दे देना. Then you can go as detailed as possible. Yeah. But keep your presentation to the smallest level possible. When you're raising capital, always raise enough for 15 to 18 months. If you say that this money I need for 6 months or 9 months, see, because it takes 6 months to raise the next round. 6 महीने या 9 महीने के लिए करोगे raise, which means immediately after you raise money, you will be out in the market raising new capital. Why would I invest then? You need to assess how much money you need for 18 months and then invest.
Sir, I have a question.
Sure, Pallavi, go ahead.
For the previous slide.
And please, folks, please call me Prajakt, not sir.
Yeah. For the previous slide, when the business plan was showed, you have given all the heads. So now the point comes again. Yes, this slide. How much should we write? You have explained So we have to submit the presentation in two ways. One is face-to-face presentation that we have to give,
Correct.
and another one is we have to submit it. So one question is when
Great
we are
question,
submitting.
great question, Pallavi, and great question, and thank you for bringing that up, because there have to be two versions of the presentation. When you are sending some presentation to people, you can have more bullet points, you can have a little more detail, because they have to infer what is being read on that slide. But when you are making the presentation, you should try to have the bullet points only, because they should serve as a reminder to you कि बात क्या करनी है.
Okay.
But there have to be two versions of the presentation. The theme is the same कि कितना detailing हो जाता है उसमें.
So if any of the slides like problem only, if I talk about, and we have covered almost 5-6 problems. So, and all the problems are different. So will that?
No, ऐसे नहीं होता 5-6 प्रॉब्लम एड्रेस करोगे तो वही स्लाइड में वो next 9 slides have no relevance for anybody. If you try to see in the startup world, because scale is important, you can only build scale when you build organizational competencies. If you're addressing 5-6 problems, most likely most people will say that this is not a venture scalable business. So you have to, but I'm happy to sort of understand your concept or what you're doing a little more in detail to give you a more nuanced or more specific feedback. I'm giving you a generic one on the basis of what I've heard, but maybe things might be maybe things are different. We'll get to know.
All right. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Okay, so in summary, investors would look for a solid business plan, large market, high quality teams, well-defined plans with practical mindset. And again, at the end of the day, like I said, a product is important, but not the basis on which people will put the money in. They'll put the money in because they believe that they will be able to make money, which means when they invest money, they will be able to sell their equity to somebody else at a higher price. Okay, and that's my coordinate. So maybe I can I'll stop sharing, and happy to take any questions there if there are any.
Thank you, Prajakt, for enlightening us with such good presentation. There were so many points that really going to help us. I just want to ask one thing. Like if I talk about my startup, we are working somehow against Amazon or big e-commerce giants. So is it okay using those names straightforward in the presentation, or putting up the research we have done, how we could help the local shopkeepers against these
No, of course,
e-commerce giants?
see, at the end of the day,
Directly
we
we
need
could use the names, or we should just use big e-commerce giants and should avoid the name of Amazon, Flipkart, or Snapdeal?
No, why avoid the name? Because that explains see, if you have a value proposition that makes sense to somebody and you're providing an alternate to Amazon to somebody, and using the name of Amazon only gives people a reference of the scale of what that market potential could be. But it is very important to understand the nuance of what that value proposition is and why that value proposition versus an Amazon would work. Now, if you have already got something in the market, then spend more time not in explaining the size of the market, etc., but in explaining why in our pilots shopkeepers love that. But if you have not done any, just an idea, spend enough time on explaining what are the nuances in that problem statement, because of which in our market research it came out that people were said कि madam आप कभी launch कर रहे हो.
No, like if we have done a good market survey and the product is live and people are liking the product, even they are making a repeat
अगर देखो
purchase.
product,
They are making
अगर तो
repeat
product
purchase.
अगर product like कर रहे हैं, or if you already have got great feedback, don't waste time on the market research. Don't waste time on the size of the market. Explain that, look, what we are doing is we're giving an alternative to shopkeepers for, instead of Amazon. Amazon squeezes their margins, we're giving them a more profitable way. By the way, after doing market survey, we launched a product. Here's the value proposition that we offer to people, and listen to it from these 4 shopkeepers as to why they love us. तो फिर उसमें 5 मिनट की हमने ये सर्वे किया, उसमें कस्टमर ने ये प्रॉब्लम बोला, ये वो, उसकी जरूरत ही नहीं ना। ये सब होने के बाद आपने प्रूव करके दिखाया।
Like mine is at a very nascent stage where we have customers, but still those customers need time to get revenue, start generating revenue. But
No
we have
problem.
repeat customers. Like once they have made a
No,
purchase, within 15-20 days, they made another purchase because they are finding it easy and helpful.
नेहा
But still,
देखो,
I cannot
यू
ask them to
यू
show any metrics where they are generating revenue.
देखो, दो तीन अलग अलग चीजें। एक तो आइडिया लोगों को पसंद आएगी कि नहीं पाए आएगी, राइट? देन इट इज इन टर्म्स ऑफ सेइंग कि आपका जो प्रोडक्ट है उस पर डिलीवर करता है कि नहीं करता है, right? First, which is saying that we checked and the people really liked the idea, because of which we created the product. And by the way, 8 customers have already adopted it. It is too early for them to prove, but at least उनको idea पसंद है. So what have you validated? You have validated the concept. Is the product validated? No, but it is work in progress. If I ask as an investor, अच्छा नहीं कितना time लगेगा इससे, कि अच्छा in 3 months time I'll have the data. I'll say no problem. Subject to the data being right, I'm happy to invest. करेक्ट। अगर डेटा ही गलत निकला इन टर्म्स ऑफ सेइंग कि यार ये मतलब कॉन्सेप्ट में तो सब लोग ने बोला यार मैडम ये तो हमें चाहिए, पर 2 महीने के बाद देखा कुछ निकला ही नहीं, तो आप भी क्यों करोगे आगे ना? देन यू विल गो बैक टू द ड्राइंग बोर्ड एंड चेंज द प्रोडक्ट। करेक्ट।
Miss Siddiqui, you can ask your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Prajakt sir. It was really very nice and like concise form, but still I have some questions. Like you mentioned one point on addressable market. So it's sometimes I find it very difficult how to get that figure. ये total addressable market कैसे निकालते हैं, या
इसी
अगर
को
आप
नहीं पता
इसको
है
थोड़ा सा
टोटल
briefly-
एड्रेसेबल मार्केट कैसे निकालते हैं, बिकॉज कोई ऐसे है नहीं। आई कैन ओनली टेल यू हाउ नॉट टू डू इट। हाउ नॉट टू डू इट इज नॉट टू पुट अप अ गार्टनर का फिगर एंड से कि मार्केट $20 बिलियन का, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है। सो बेसिकली सी फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई एम, व्हाट इज योर प्रोडक्ट? लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल।
I'm into natural cleaners, home
Natural
cleaners.
cleaners.
Yes.
Okay, so for example, if you were to say, hey, you know what, natural, and suppose you want to make it into a premium, segment, which is like targeting the upper income also. So, look, say for example, in a city like Lucknow, there are X families that fall into the target category. By and large, no FMCG brand has been able to get more than 5% market share. And therefore, even if I were to be extremely successful, out of, say, for example, 10 lakh high net worth families in Lucknow, I'll be able to serve 50,000. If they buy 2,000 rupees worth of products every year, my market is, whatever that 10 crores, 100 crores, whatever that number peaks at. And you see, in India, there are about 250 cities of the size of Lucknow. So I think the market is 25,000 crores. It's the logical, practical, ground up calculation that you do that will be important rather than getting a number.
Okay, like back end work, like how many families, cities, and then
Mota,
No, or the
broad
values.
numbers. Yeah. But there is no investor that is going to reject any business plan saying market ही बहुत
Yeah,
छोटा
but
है
this
India.
is something like every pitch has, so मुझे
No,
problem.
it has because entrepreneurs put it, but it is not as if that this is the reason why people will say अच्छा market ही because anything that you do will have a large market in India.
Yes.
बांग्लादेश में थोड़ी ना रह रहे।
Yes.
Correct.
Hello, sir.
So
Hello.
Hello.
yes, please go ahead, ask your question. So I have a question, sir.
Ma'am, select your trademark name. Need ट्रेडमार्क का नाम कैसे सिलेक्ट किया जाए कि वो अपना जो ट्रेडमार्क है किसी से मैच भी ना हो और नाम भी अच्छा हो, ब्रांडेबल भी चीज अच्छी हो, तो उसको हम कैसे सिलेक्ट
वो
कर
मेरी
पाएंगे उसको?
एक्सपर्टीज नहीं है भाई, वो उसमें मेरे को नहीं पता।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
And so my question is, like during presentation, we heard a word like exit, investors exit. So any like what could be the time period that we could just calculate
4 to 5 years.
investors
4 to 5 years. I mean, by and large, investors would exit anywhere between 3 to 4, 5, 6 years. The initial set of investors.
Okay, so it is at initial stage only.
No, the initial set of investors would exit in about 3 or 5 years time. The next set of people who will come in, they will exit in another 4 or 5 years time. So वो गाड़ी exit doesn't mean कि आपको बेचना है. Basically, मैंने अगर suppose if I put 2 crore in a company and take 10% equity in that company, I'm selling my 10% to somebody else.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Yes, I do. Hello.
Yes.
This is Praveen Urmila. Right now, I'm having already one brand which is existed. We started in 2019. Before that, like this brand, I have been based of Hong Kong also. I have been like dealing worldwide into OEM audio for the mobile phone around 20 countries. That's why I came in India 2019. I started this brand. The thing is, like my brand is doing great. My products are acceptable. Customers are more happy as they are giving a review that we are already under price. The thing is like right now I'm at the stage where we are looking for the VC support actually. That is the my one of the biggest lacking point in terms of the business.
No, but if you have a good business plan, if you have a great product with proven thing, then you should be able to get with the capital funding. The session today was about, but I think if you're looking for venture capital funding, then this forum may not be right for you because then you're looking for growth capital. I think TiE and similar organizations typically would get in people for lower, stage funding, lower scale funding for early stages.
Yeah, some sort of kind of the seed.
Just one second, just one second. Sorry, somebody was calling again and again.
So I was saying like in terms of the VC's fund, as you are on behalf of the VC, so that is what is my concern. Like suppose we have to initiate for in terms of the seeds funding and those things. So what are the best way to approach?
Which is, first, like I said, you have to first work on your business plan, present that in a concise manner, and business plan in the sense you have to really think through in terms of what is it that you're going to do, how you're going to do scale, etc. Present that, and then connect with the VCs that are most appropriate for you.
We
Not
have
all VCs invest in all sectors. There are different kinds of investors will invest in different kinds of companies. So you have to figure out whether those people are relevant for you.
The thing is, the products are already available on Amazon and Flipkart and everywhere. We are already having some tractions also. And as per our...
I think you will probably need to see. I can't, see without knowing the specifics, it'll be very hard for me to, give any opinion on what there. But I think TiE has various programs through which you probably might be able to take mentoring and advice on specific things in terms of what needs to be done.
आपको समझ आया क्या कह रहे हैं?
कह रहे बहुत सारी और एजेंसीज भी हैं टाई के अलावा.
Could you? So thank you so much, friends, for attending this session today.
Can you forward the presentation?
It was quite insightful presentation, and I would on behalf of TiE fraternity, I would like to thank you so much, Mr. Prajakt sir.
Absolutely my pleasure. Absolutely
your
my
presentation
pleasure.
was so inspiring and so informative. And I would like to mention few takeaways, which I have not noted down for my business. Let me be very clear, it is for my business. So what takeaways I have taken would be like, first and foremost thing is we should understand our investors first. Then only we can go for building and foundation of our business and making our business plans and then constructing our pitch deck, which is very much required to convince our investors to believe in ourselves, because they are looking for the logic for our assumptions, what we have made for our business. Until unless we have proper facts and figures, proper logics for our business, I'm afraid our investors won't be interested to invest in our business plan, in our business, sorry. So what investors are looking, we should have a very good team, a good insightful knowledge of our business, what actually we are looking for, and how we are going to implement at each and every stage of our execution. So the plan and the logics should be very much coincident, collide with our assumptions, and we are able to explain what actually we have assumed and what is the logic behind why we are here with this idea, and how we are going to execute our plan at each and every stage of product development as well as the business development we are going with. So, and the, the stages differ from company to company, and we need to be a dominant player until unless we are able to convince them, see, we are here to become leaders of our market, leaders of our fraternity, whatever business we are doing, whatever product we are doing, we won't be able to convince our investors. So the whole pitch deck, so it was a very insightful presentation to how to construct your pitch, how to convince your investors. And I guess all the question answers are answered, and you guys are satisfied enough with all the queries, doubts cleared. And on behalf of everybody, again, I would like to thank you so much, sir, for your insightful presentation. And we, by giving us actually clearing our doubts and making us very comfortable in how to make pitch and go forward with this journey as a TiE participant for grand finale. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening then. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Friends,
The
will be
rest of the
sharing
participants.
presentation in the groups.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.